Thank you. A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies, are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked about, not about the things that separate us, because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted.
Obviously hitting on his key issues.
Right.
Chronic disease, which was the one that fell on the most fertile ears with a lot of people, right? Autoimmune diseases and infertility and obesity, big food, all of that. Foreign policy, neocons, make America healthy again, the line. All right, but as you say, those aren't specifically chronic disease, anything you've ever heard Trump say before.
Yeah, no, I actually looked earlier. I looked because what he just said there, what RFK said, is what he said when he dropped out earlier today. I looked to see if Donald Trump could ever mention chronic disease, particularly in this context, and he had not. I mean, he did this. I mean, look, it's Donald Trump. There's pictures of the guy eating McDonald's on his plane. Like, this is not a guy who's deeply dedicated to healthy eating, right? I mean, the other things he said, though, like the thing about censorship, just total nonsense, right? He's referring to this Twitter file stuff, which has been debunked 1,000 times over. He said Donald Trump's going to protect us from totalitarianism because of the censorship thing. Like, all these things that he's saying.
Right.
Again, you know, to go back to the point that he also tried to get Kamala Harris to, like, give him a deal as well. So, I mean, it's also just, like, starkly insincere in a way that I think is pretty remarkable.
And yet, I mean, obviously you hear that's a rally, so you're going to have the response you have, Aisha, but is it possible that this does fall on some fertile ears, particularly because he's leading with the issue that many people found compelling, right? The issue of chronic disease is an issue that Americans do face.
But even the communication of it just felt a little bit incoherent to me. And that's the thing that struck me, because it actually did feel rather Trump-light in that he repeated the same three lines twice, once at the beginning, then coming back to it, don't you want it to be safe for your kids and to get rid of chemicals in food, right? So beginning at it was formulaic. It felt like a whole lot of ramble in the middle. It felt contradictory as well, because he went into this thing about totalitarianism and do you want somebody who's going to weaponize the government against you? When in fact, that's exactly what Donald Trump has threatened to do time and time again, is weaponize the government against his enemies, essentially. So it all felt like really aligned with this rally, because it's just as rambling and incoherent as most of what Trump has to say.
Mark and Lulu, I want to get you in here. Tom Foreman is here now, though, because as Philip was talking about, you know, this issue of chronic disease, how does it actually fit? What has Trump said? Tom Foreman, what have you found, just looking over the facts here?
Yeah, looking over the facts here, in 2020, the World Health Organization looked at 180 countries around the world. RFK Jr. just said that our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. The World Health Organization said, yeah, we ranked 39th in the world out of 180 countries. So not as good as it could be, but nowhere near the worst. And when he kept saying, don't you want a safe environment for your children? Don't you want a safe environment for your children? It's important to remember Trump, as president, rolled back dozens of measures out there to make clean water, clean air, the very things that create a clean environment for our children.
Right, and of course, you're talking about food supply. When you talk about safe environment, I mean, obviously, gun violence being the top issue, and they're talking about food. Lulu, does this resonate, though, with those core voters that we were talking about when you're talking 5 or 6% was RFK's polling in a state like Arizona, which is larger than the current margin polling between Harris and Trump?
It was kind of gibberish, and there were a lot of coded language there for people who follow RFK. So if you are a believer in some of the conspiracy theories about our food sources and autism and vaccines, then you are going to be primed to accept what he just said. But for the vast majority of people, what he said is kind of not true, first of all. And secondly, it doesn't really resonate in that way because, yes, of course, we all want healthy food for our kids. And yes, of course, we all want, a safe environment. But Donald Trump is not synonymous with those causes. And it just seems like this is the largest stage RFK Jr. has ever had. I mean, a Trump rally, he was not someone who was pulling in the huge crowds before, even though he was polling well at a certain point. And again, it just smacks of political opportunism for a lot of people who are watching